This week we start Parashat Emor, B'ezrat Hashem. ויאמר השם אל משה אמור הכהנים בני אהרון ואמרת עליהם ללבש איתם בעמיו. And Hashem told Moshe, Emor HaKohanim, you should tell the Kohanim, V'amarta, Emor HaKohanim, Bnei Aharon, the Kohanim, the children of Aharon, V'amarta Aleim, you should tell them, L'nefesh Yitama B'amav. For the soul, Lo Yitama B'amav. They shouldn't become contaminated, they should become Tameh B'amav, in the midst of the nation, among people. Now, always we explain the semichot of the Parashat. The last Parashat talks about Ovi Doni. He says that don't go and ask from the dead bodies about future. And this Parashat says Emor HaKohanim. Now, Balaturim says what's the semichot of the Parashat. He brings the Chazal that the Shaul wanted to know the future, and Shaul went to Ovi Gidoni. Now, in other words, the question is that Ovi Gidoni tells us future. Now, Torah is saying semichut, you don't have to go to Ovi Doni, those people that they presented the dead body and they asked him the neshama of the dead body. Now we should go to Kohanim, and Kohanim they would ask from Urim v'Tumim. Amar Rabbi Yafe hayalo l'Shaul, Yishol be'Urim v'Tumim. Ha'amurim lemata, v'lo be'amur ha'amur lemala. It was proper for Shaul to ask from Urim v'Tumim that it is lemala, from lemata, and not from Udoni lemala. They indicated, therefore that's the semichut of the parashiyot, and this parasha is parasha of Kohanim. Basically, everything talks about the avodah of the Kohanim. We're going to start. Vayomer Hashem el Moshe. Hashem spoke to Moshe. Emor HaKohanim b'nei Aharon v'amarta. Emor v'amarta. Now, why do we have Emor v'amarta? Emor HaKohanim. Emor v'amarta lehazik gedolim v'chatanim. Why do they say double lashon Emor v'amarta? He wants to warn. He wants to lehazir, to warn gedolim v'chatanim, that the gedolim, the elders, they have to tell the youngers that they should not be mitame. Elders, they have to tell the young Kohanim that shouldn't be mitame. It's very interesting that one of the places that we find the mitzvah of chinuch, we have to be mechanech our children, is from this Kohanim. Now, they ask that, how come here? Why over here there is a place that Torah is teaching us that you should be mechanech the children? It's very interesting that whatever that the Kohen tells his children, not mitame, he has to do it himself. He cannot be mekabel himself to kabarim. He has to do it because he's obligated with the rules that he should do. Therefore, chinuch, the greatest point in chinuch is to be an example. Here, Torah is telling us the mitzvah of chinuch, because here the father has to be example. The father cannot tell the children be metame, you shouldn't be metame, and himself is metame. The Kohen has to rule, to obey the rules of the Kohanim. Therefore, that's the yesod of education. The yesod of education is that the one who is telling the children what to do, first he has to be a good example. Not tell him that tomorrow get up, go to shul, but he slips himself. You should put on tefillin, doesn't put on tefillin, it doesn't work. Be honest, it's not honest. Don't lie, he lies, it doesn't come out true. Bnei Aharon, Yahol Chalalim, Ta'amul Umar Kohanim. It should be Chalalim, Ta'ased Kohanim. Bnei Aharon, Af Ba'alei Mumin B'mashba. Now they were excluding Chalalim and including Ba'alei Mumin. Bnei Aharon, B'lubat Aharon. So interesting that the children of Aaron, they are obligated to stay away from Tumah, but not the daughters. Now the Midrash says, why daughters not? Because Chava caused the death. Since ladies caused the death, here the Benot Aharon are exempt from becoming Tumah of Met. Now it says that he shouldn't become contaminated among his people. Why does it say among his people? What does Meotoch Amav mean? Rashi, Beot Shamed Betoch Amav. Yot Shamed Mitzvah. As long as Beot Shamed, if the Met is among people and people are there to bury the Met, then the Kohen is exempt. But if not, if the Met is a Met Mitzvah means there is nobody to bury him. He's in the Midbar desert someplace that there is nobody, then even the Kohen could do. Now, Torah is telling us that he cannot be Metame. Now, what about for his relative? Now, we're going to see that for his relative, the halacha is different. Kim lish'ero haqar v'elav le'imo ulavi v'levno v'leto l'achi. Now, it shouldn't be Metame. Kim lish'ero haqar v'elav. Only to him lish'ero haqar v'elav, to his relatives close to him. Now, it's very interesting order. Now, Torah wants to say that the Kohen could become Tameh to his relative. What should the order be? Very interesting. The order is first his mother, The Kohen could become Tameh for his mother. If his mother passed away, he could. Ul Aviv, his father. Then the Torah says mother, then father, then his son, then his daughter, and his brother. Now, one person is missing from this list. Who is missing from this list? His wife. Now, Chazal says, Rashi says, take it Rashi, Kim li shero, en shero, ella ishto. Torah says, Sher means basar. It's the meat that's close to him. What's the basar that's close to him? His wife. Therefore, the first is his wife. Therefore, the priority goes to the wife. Now, the Torah is telling us that the closest person to a person should be his wife. His wife is prior to the parents and anybody. Always I tell Chatorim and Kala, the greatest respect that you could give to your parents is to respect your spouse more than the parents. When you respect your spouse more than the parents, then you are giving the greatest respect to your parents. Because if you don't give the respect to them, to the spouse more than the parents, then it's a friction, and then you're gonna be disgracing. They're gonna be disgracing your parents. You're gonna be disgracing your parents. Then you can't do anything. Therefore, the greatest respect that a person could give to his parents is to respect his wife more than his parents, or a wife, her husband, more than the parents. Therefore, Torah is saying that in Kileshero, because the wife and the husband, they should come together. Now, one of the Gedolei Hador, Rav Shmuel Kamenetsky, when his daughter got married to our Rosh Yeshiva, Rabbi Berkowitz, at that time Rabbi Berkowitz wasn't Rosh Yeshiva, he was a young man getting married to this girl of Gadol Hador. Now, Rabbi Yaakov, Rav Shmuel Kamenetsky, under the chuppah, tells his daughter is a Gadol Hador. He raised up a daughter in the most serenity, most kedusha, most Torah home. Tells her, Tishtakechi bet avich. I want you, my blessing to you is that you should forget the house of your father. Forget the house of your father and build up your life with your husband. Tishtakechi bet avich. No, very interesting. He was thinking that, his daughter is going now. He said that my was with the Gadol Hador, this and that. And, Torah, it says, smart. Gadol Hador says, Tishtakechi bet avich. Therefore, the more husband and wife detach themselves from the parents and become closer, you have to say Hallel. It has to be beracha, blessing. The less they do that, it calls for problem. Don't appreciate, don't think you like that, because that calls for a problem. The more they detach from the parents and they become one unit in themselves, the better they are. Now, why didn't Torah says Ishto? Specifically, in other words, to say Ishto by saying Kibleshero, because what about if he's divorced and the wife dies? It's not Betame. What about if it's Arusa? It's not Betame. Therefore, it's very interesting. Before Shem said, if it would have said Ishto specifically, then he has to say divorce not and Arusa not. And it's not nice. It's not nice to say divorce not. Therefore, Torah made it in through the hint that we should listen, we should understand it through implication that should not be said openly. The kavod haberiyot, the sensitivity of Torah, how sensitive Torah is toward the feelings of other people. And for his sister, Habetula is a virgin, who is a virgin, close to him. Therefore, for the sister also could, that is not married yet. Therefore, the daughter, as long as it's not married, is part of the family. But once it's married, he makes his own unit. Therefore, la itama, to her should be tameh. Rashi says la itama. Rashi says the mitzvah. La itama. Rashi says it's a la itama. Rashi says the mitzvah. In other words, from here we learn out that's a mitzvah to be tameh. If he says that should I do it or shouldn't I do it, you say no. Maybe if a Kohen says, why should I do it? There are other people to do it. I shouldn't do it. On that, Torah says the la itama, to say it's the mitzvah, that la itama mitzvah. Rashi says la itama mitzvah. It's a mitzvah to do it. You can't say that I'm a Kohen, I don't want to do it. Torah says no, for Kerovim, for relatives, it's a mitzvah that he should contaminate himself. Lo itama ba'al be'amav lehechalon. Now Torah says, lo itama ba'al, the husband should not contaminate himself be'amav, among his people, lehechalon. For a wife that made him into chala. In other words, there are cases that the husband that is married to the wife, as long as he's married to this wife, he's a chala. They said that he marries a divorcee, he's a chala. Now, once he dies or divorces, gets back to Kohen. Now, he says that if the wife dies in such a situation, he should not be metam himself. Now, Torah says that person shall not make a bald spot on their heads. And the corners of their beard. They should not shave it with razor. And to their flesh, to their meat, they shall not cut. They should not make a cut, a gash. Cut. Should not make it. No. Torah says that when somebody dies, it's also to pull out your hair. That happens. That applies to everybody, even to Israel, Ben Israel. Now, by Kohanim, Torah is saying extra love. It's very interesting. In other words, Torah says when somebody dies, you are not allowed to make a cut, and you are not allowed to pull out your hair. Now, by Kohanim, Torah said extra love. It's interesting. Why? Because soon we see. Why do we say that the Kohanim should not be metamed themselves to men? Why? What's the reason for it? Because Kohanim are symbolic of Chaim, life. The Tamigdash is the life of Kahal Israel. It's the Chaim of Kahal Israel. The Tamigdash got nothing to do with Tumah. It has to stay away from Tumah. Now, the Kohen Chinuch says, Torah had Rachman on the Kohen. Really, even the Kohen Hedyot should not be metameh for his father, for his son, because the Kohen lives above all of this materialistic life. The father, mother, everything. Torah, the Kohen has to live in Betamigdash with the essence of Chaim, eternality. We don't have any shaykhut to death. Now, if a Kohen comes and pulls out his hair or makes a cut for death, that Torah says even Jewish people should not do that. Why? Because Goyim do that because they think death is the end of life. Oh, I lost my father, that's it. I can't see him anymore, that is. Therefore, psychologically, they want to bother themselves. Because it's very interesting, it's a remedy in psychology. Once you are in a very, very low tune, you are very depressed and you are very annoyed, you want to bother yourself. You want to pull out your hair, you want to make cut. Torah says, Banim atem leHashem Elokechem. You are the children of Hashem. When somebody dies, the death in Jewish philosophy is separation of a guf and neshama. Neshama goes up and the guf stays. And that's why there is a tumah. Do you know why? Because HaKadosh Baruch Hu created the world in the balanced way. Ze le'umat ze bara Elokim. This guf that contained the neshama, the kedusha, now the kedusha goes away, the tumah comes and gets in. That's why there is a tumah. That's why we tell Kohanim don't do, and they shouldn't. Now a Kohen that loses somebody and pulls out his hair, or he makes a cut in himself, then it's over two lavin. He over two commandments because there is more strict. It's more strict for him. Now it says what's that? That also talks about everybody, even Jew, even Ben Israel. Nobody is allowed to put razor on his face. You are not allowed to cut it. Means to put razor on the face is also. Now, what does that have to do with Kohanim? Why Kohanim they should be over to Lavin? It's very interesting. Rambam says, what's the reason Torah says don't put razor on your face? Because that was Chok of Avodah Zarah. There was a Chok of Avodah Zarah that they put razor on their face. Torah says that shouldn't do it. Now, for Avodah Zarah, in other words, they wanted to make the face. In other words, what's the difference between razor and scissor? Razor, nothing stays from the hair. Because razor, the blade cuts. Scissor, the first blade doesn't cut. The first blade keeps the hair, second one cuts. There is the impression of the hair. Somehow, of the Avodah Zarah, they wanted to show the Avodah Zarah that they're gonna smooth out the hair. No hair on the body, on the face. Therefore, that was their minhag, that was their thing, to take off all of the hair. Torah says that's also. Now, Kohanim, who are the agent of HaKadosh Baruch Hu, they working with Hamikdash Bar Hashem, they bring the Korbanot, they are more responsible to be away, to stay away from those things that Avodah Zarah does. That's why Torah says, also here, for Kohanim, extra love. Kedoshim yehiu leLohehem, let them, they shall be holy for their God, and they should not desecrate the name of their God, Ishi Hashem. Because the fire offering of Hashem, lechem Elohehem, the bread of their God, hem makrivim. They are bringing Vayu Kodesh, and they have to be Kodesh. So this pasuk says, Kedoshim you, they have to be Kodesh. Rashi says, Al Kurcham Yakdeshum Bedin Bekah. The Bedin should be makdish them against their will. That they should not be metameh, they should keep the rules. Why? Because they bring the fire offering and lechem Elohem offering. What's lechem mean? What's bread of their God? It's unbelievable. Imagine the president of a company comes to the company and workers, they say that you are bringing my bread. What? No, I give you bread or you are giving my bread. No? Unbelievable point that Torah says, HaKadosh Baruch Hu says, Korbani lachmi. Your korban is my bread. Now Mefarshim say, what does it mean that the korban is my bread? Just like bread sustains body, gives nutrition to a person to stay alive. The bread gives nutrition. Without bread, the person is not alive. The person is food. Now, HaKadosh Baruch Hu is saying that my presence in the world is through your Torah and Mitzvah. Torah and Mitzvah is my bread, because imagine Los Angeles right now. There are a lot of meetings, a lot of houses, a lot of things, but there is no talk about HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Nobody thinks about Hashem. There is no presence of Hashem. Not only there is no presence of Hashem, there is an anti-Hashem, it's corrupted. They are thinking to how could I make more money? How could I steal more? How could I make more money? My arrogancy, everything everybody is thinking about his own idol, is selfish and self-centered against HaKadosh Baruch Hu. The only place that people are coming and learning Torah, doing a mitzvah, thinking about HaKadosh Baruch Hu, that creates the presence of Hashem. That gives the aroma of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Therefore, that is lechem Elohehem machrivim. Therefore, kohanim, that they do. Now, nowadays we don't have kohanim, but from people, they are the agent of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Right now, from people, they have the role of kohanim. Now, Torah says, Isha zona bechalal lo yikachu, v'isha gerusha me'isha lo yikachu, ki chadosh lo yikachu. Isha zona. Now, a kohen idiot, cannot marry Isha zona. What's zona? Had illicit relations, not the forbidden relationships. What type Rashi? She ra be'irat Israel ha'asur. She had a relationship with the Israel that's asur. Kigun chayav kirtut or not in mamzer. In other words, if she had a relationship with the Israel that's asur, kigun chayav kirtut or not in mamzer, that becomes zona. Or she had a relationship with the goy. But if she had a relationship with the Jew, she's not called zona. She is mutar to marry a kohen. Therefore, if a Jewish girl, not from, lives in campus, and he has a boyfriend, goyish boyfriend, and everything, then it's obvious that she would be asur to for a kohen is also to marry her. To marry
Kohen gadol or Kohen
the regular kohen, very good. So you cannot marry. וחلالا לא ייקחו ועדת צוות חلاלה שינוי דאמין הפסולים שבכהונה כגון בת אלמנה מכהן גדול בת גירושה מכהן ידיעות וכן שאלה מן הכהונה על ידי ביאת אחד מן הפסולים לכהונה. Now halala, a lady who is a halala also she cannot marry. Who is a halala? Halala is if a kohen marries a gerusha and they have a daughter, that daughter is halala. A kohen cannot marry that daughter. Or kohen gadol goes and marry almano and they have a daughter. That daughter, that relationship was forbidden, and that daughter is halala. או וכן שהתחילה מן הכהונה על ידי ביאת אחד מן הפסולים לכהונה. If she had bia with somebody who is a pasul for kehuna, that also becomes halala. He cannot marry. V'isha gerusha, now a divorcee also kohen edut cannot marry. Ki chadosh uleka, because it's chadosh. V'chidashto, make him, sanctify him. Ki et lechem Elohecha hu magriv, because the bread of your God he is bringing offering. Chadosh yelach, should be kadosh. Ki chadosh ani Hashem mechadeshem, because I'm holy, that I mekadesh you. Ubat ish kohen ki techel Israel. And the daughter of a man of a kohen, she will be desecrated, not through adultery. In other words, in other words, she disgraced the father, the family, not with adultery. Now, who are we talking about? This is the desecration for the father. You shall burn her with fire. She will burn the fire. Now, Torah, what is it talking about? Rashi says, here we are not talking about a girl, this is machloka in the Gemara, is it Irusin, engaged, or she was married? She was married. و kolmod شده برکاتو perashus تا این با somebody is not married. Now Torah is saying that a daughter of a Kohen, that's zenut, whether she's engaged or she's married, the din is more hamur in a way, and we have to burn her because we show that you are from the legacy that should stay from these things. And something like that happens, you're going to be punished more. و Kohen Gadol Mechav, a Kohen Gadol Mechav is Mechav. Kohen Gadol, no, we are talking Kohen Gadol. Asher Yutzah Garosho Shemen HaMishcha, that they pour on his head the oil of the atonement. Or with the time that there is no oil, and Miledado, who was given the authority. In other words, they authorized him, Lilbosh Begadim, to wear the Begadim, the garments of Kohen Gadol. Now, Torah is saying that if now the Kohen Gadol, the dinim are more strict, because Kohen Gadol is the epidemic of Chai, epidemic of life, and therefore he has to stay away from any type of tumor and any type of death. Therefore, if something happens to him, Avelut, he has to mourn for his father. No, there is a halacha that the person should let his grow for 30 days. Now, by Kohen Gadol says, Etrosholo Ifra, he should not let his hair grow. Now, even though that the regular person has to obey the Hilchot of Avelut, he has to conduct himself in Hilchot of Avelut, but Kohen Gadol, he should not let his hair grow, should not show any sign of Avelut, because I think again, it's the epidemic of Chaim, who begadab lo yifrom, and his garment he should not tear. Now, even though that the tearing that is the mitzvah to do for a mourner, Kohen Gadol is done. And for all of the souls of the dead should not come. For father and mother. Chinuch says, even though that by Kohen Hetiot is mutar, by Kohen Gadol is asur, because Kohen Gadol is the epidemic of Chaim, epidemic of life. He cannot be mitam himself, even for Aviv and Dor. Now, if he says for anybody should not, why it's the Avimo? Rashi says, Lahavi Levidadam, La'avivilimo, Lo Ba'ila Lahati, Lo Med Mitzvah. What about Mitzvah? If a Kohen Gadol is someplace and there's a dead body, there is nobody to bury him, then it's mutar for Kohen Gadol to that. Now, there is the Isur that he should not go out from the Hamikdash. He cannot go after Amita. In other words, the coffin, we are taking the coffin, cannot go out. And he should not be Mechalel, the Avodah, the service that he's doing. Because if he does that, he's Mechalel. Because the crown of the oil of anointment of God is on him and God. Therefore, he should be careful not to be Mechalel. He has to marry a woman who is a virgin. Yikach shall marry. The Betura is only for Kohen Gadol, not for Kohen Gadol. Almana or Grosha v'chalazona. Now, if we add an Isur on Kohen Gadol, Almana widow. Kohen Hediot could marry a widow. Kohen Gadol cannot marry a widow who Grosha divorcee, v'chalala and the sick-legged woman, as we said before, Zona and we said about somebody had a forbidden relationship. Et elelo yikach cannot marry them. Kim Betura ma'ama v'chachesha. Only a virgin from his people he could marry. We should not desecrate his offspring because I'm the Hashem to Hashem. But if he marries them, his offspring becomes halal. They are not Kohen anymore. They will be talked about here the Parashat of Kohanim to tell us that these are the Kohanim, these are the rules and regulations that they should keep because they are the agent in Bet HaMikdash. These are designated laws only for Kohen. Now we're going to go to next parasha. That what about if a Kohen has a blemish? Now could he do avodah shbarch or not? No. It's a blind Kohen, a broken foot in it, and we have to understand: could he do or not? No. Could he eat kochim or not? He doesn't do avodah. Could he eat kochim or not? And then we're going to say that why is it like that? Ata Hashem Moshe Emor. Hashem spoke to Moshe. Taper Aharon Emor. Tell Aharon say, Ish mizarecha ledorotam, any man from your offspring throughout their generations, Asher bomum, that he has a blemish, lo yigrab, shall not come near. Lehachrib lechem elokah, to offer, shall come close to offer bread of his God. While kichol ish asher bomum, whoever has a blemish, lo yigrab, shall not approach. Ish either a blind person, or pesiach, or lame, or charum, whose nose has no breach. In other words, his nose doesn't have a bone coming up, the two eyes are connected to each other. Or sarua, or one limb is greater than the other, means somebody, the limbs are not equal. או איש אשר יהיה בו שבר, or person that has a שבר, like fracture of leg, or שבר יד, fracture of hand, or gibbon, who has misformed eyebrows. Now these eyebrows are long and they are shoched, they are lying down on his eye. Or dak, or somebody has cataract. He has a morbarit, or tevalul be'eno. Tevalul be'eno, it says mixed colors in his eyes. Rashi explains, in other words, there is a white line that goes from the white part to the black part. In other words, there is a mixed color in his eyes. Or garab or yalefet, he has a skin eruption, whether it's moisture or dried, or merubach ashech, or has crushed testicles. Now these testicles are crushed. Or kolish asher bo mum mizera aharon, or whoever has a blemish from zera or generation of aharon, akohen lo yigash la'achriv, should bring the Hashem, mumbo, he has a blemish, et lechem lo'av lo yigash la'achriv. The bread of his God, you should not approach to bring clothes to offer. Lechem elokav, the bread of his father, mechodesh hachodeshim, umnei hachodeshim yochel. But he could eat. It's very interesting. Ba'al mum cannot do avodah, but he is in it. He could eat kodesh hachodeshim, umnei hachodeshim. Even kodesh hachodeshim and kodeshim could eat. Therefore, in other words, we don't say that that's have kedusha not eating. Therefore, why doesn't it do avodah? But the curtain should not come to sprinkle the blood. He cannot come close to Mizbeach to sprinkle blood. Because he has a moon, you should not desecrate my sacred offerings, because I'm the God to Mekadesh them. By Daber Moshe Aharon B'Nai Israel, Moshe spoke to Aharon and his children and to all Ben Israel. By that they said to all Ben Israel, Rashi, Lahati Bedin al Kohani, that the Bedin should be careful, that the Kohanim should follow these rules. Now the question is, Chinuch says, if you go to a king, and all of the servants of the king, or some of them, have blemish, somebody is blind, it takes away from the majesty of the king. So it's very important that we have to keep the majesty of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. You can say, who cares, what is it, it's not important, it's not, no, it's very important. Just like the Navi says, if you would have done that for your officer would accept from you, the officer would do it. Just like the officer would not accept, you shouldn't have a chutzpah also to do something like that. Because you have to show the majesty of Hashem. The Mefarshim say, when Moshe Rabbeinu didn't want to go to become agent, to go and talk to Paro, because he was telling HaKadosh Baruch Hu, Hashem is a Chilul Hashem. The why is it Chilul Hashem? Because he said, I can't pronounce well word. I cannot talk well. You should have a good agent. You should have an agent that could present you well. I'm not capable, it's a Chilul Hashem, I don't want to go. That was the dilemma of Moshe Rabbeinu. But Hashem in that case, especially he wanted somebody who doesn't have the power of speech. Because he wanted to show that all of the Yitzhak Mitzrayim happens through power of God, not power of a person. Just like by Haggadah, you don't find the name of Moshe Rabbeinu. Somebody was Rabbi Heinemann Seder, and he told him this pshat. He said there is no Moshe Rabbeinu, is not in Haggadah. And why? Because we don't want to denote that Moshe Rabbeinu was the one who took you out. We want to say that HaKadosh Baruch Hu. But Rabbi Heinemann said, no, there is the name of Moshe Rabbeinu in Haggadah. He said, no, there is not. Before him say. And then Rabbi Heinemann showed them that they bring a pasuk, B'nei Ham, B'nei Moshe. There is a pasuk that brings Aga. Only on the way they brought his name in Haggadah. Therefore here, now, Taka, what is their fault? If somebody was born blind, why can't he be part of the Beit HaMikdash? Now, the Zohar HaKadosh says, HaKadosh Baruch Hu created everybody Yashar. Everybody has to be without blemish. Like the Zohar, there's a pasuk in Torah. Torah says, Shichet lo. The corruption is not because of him. Because of him, it's not his. Shichet lo. Banav mumam. The children are blemish. Dor ikesh uftalto. The generation is ikesh, it's crooked, uftalto. Therefore, any corruption comes from people themselves. They did something wrong, expression of that thing came out like that. The Mefarshim say, the Mekubalim could see in a person and could tell in that person, they say that they are not using one of the limbs properly, that this limb doesn't have a zechut of life. Now, whether we had a merit to be there, or not to be married, but the merit, in other words, maybe there are merit from other places that he should continue with that. But really there is no zechut for that. Because every effort that we have, we use it properly, we're going to continue. Not. Therefore, if somebody doesn't have something, that shows that there is a shortcoming. No, Chas v'shalom, it doesn't mean to say that this person himself is not, he did something wrong. Maybe he didn't do something wrong, but in Gilgulim, in other Gilgulim, he did something wrong, and that happened to him. But anyway, he's not the right agent for HaKadosh Baruch Hu, but Hashem said, nevertheless, he could eat the Korbanot, and he should be part of the Korbanot, but he cannot do the Avodah. Now we're going to talk about, second parasha, we're going to talk about that just like Kohanim, if they are blemished, they cannot come to Avodah. What if they become Tameh? If they become Tameh also, they cannot do the Avodah. Now, what does Tumah mean? In other words, the greatest Tumah is a dead body. That is Metameh. Not only the dead body is Metameh, somebody touches dead body also is Metameh person. Therefore, dead body is Avod HaTumah, the father of father, grandfather. Somebody touches him is a father, and that Metameh. Everything becomes Tameh from Avod HaTumah. Then the other things is that the Sarua Metzora is Tameh, Zav, somebody has flow, male flow is Tameh, Shichvat Zera makes a person Tameh, and Shratzim. 8 Shratzim, if you remember, we learned 8 types of creeping animals, that these animals are Tameh. Now, Mefarshim say, what's the pshat of Tumah? Where does Tumah come from? In a word of HaKadosh Baruch Hu, how could Tumah be? Now, the Mefarshim say, of course, Mitzat HaKadosh Baruch Hu himself, there is no Tumah but Kedusha. That's a big difference. Mitzat Hashem, in the aspect of HaKadosh Baruch Hu, everything is the same. Whatever is different in our aspect, in our viewpoint, is different. Because HaKadosh Baruch Hu, for his creation, to create the Bechira and to let us be, he had to hide himself. He had to hide and hide and hide and hide. Now, that's regarding to human beings. Now, regarding to human beings that Hashem hid himself, there are levels. One level is there are partitions. One is 100,000, millions, and more and more. No, the Surah asks, is there any place that is hidden completely, that there is no light at all? He says, yes, there is. And in that place, there is a total Tumah. There is lack of presence of Hashem. There is the Klipot, the Tumah, everything belongs to that section. Now, the Kohen, who is bringing the Korban of HaKadosh Baruch Hu, Kohen who works in Bet HaMikdash, is the symbolic of life. And Chaim has to stay away from this Tumah. Now, if he becomes contaminated, he has to make himself tahor to be able to eat kochim to bring the Korban. By Daber Hashem Moshe Emor. Hashem spoke to Hashem. Daber Aharon Banav should tell Aaron and his children, V'inazru mekodesh Ben Israel. They shall separate themselves from the sacred offerings of Ben Israel. V'lo yechalelu et Shem. V'lo yechalelu et Shem Kodeshi, and they should not desecrate the name of my holy name, Ashrei Magdeshtim Li, that they sanctify for me, Ani Hashem. Emor Aleim, should tell them, V'dortechem Shoroshen, Kol ish asher yigrab mikol zarachem, anybody who brings from your generation, LaKodashim, Asher Yaqdishu Ben Israel, all of the dish, La Hashem v'tumato alav, and he has tumah on him, when he gets kareh. Therefore, it's a very serious matter. If you combine the kedusha with tumah, when it would be cut off ani Hashem. Some people, they would say that, what do you mean? HaKadosh Baruch Hu is all over. Just the opposite. If in the midst of tumah I do something kedusha, it's even more rewarded. And they used to say that. Now HaKadosh Baruch Hu says, don't make a mistake. Because if a person makes such a mistake in his life, then a person would go with the wife of somebody, because through that you create the kedusha and tahara. Therefore, the person is not allowed to do anything like that. It's asur to do. That's why Torah is so makpid, that if a person mixes the tumah and the kedusha together, he gets cut off. Because this concept that this is kedusha, this is tumah, is very crucial for Kahal Israel. If there is no separation of kedusha and tumah, then we're going to ruin all of the Torah and mitzvot. Little by little, we're going to lose everything. Therefore, it's very crucial and it's very important. Therefore, that's why Torah says, if a Kohen is tameh, and he eats the kochim or its korban, he gets karet. Karet would be cut off from his life. Ani Hashem, I'm Hashem. Therefore, the concept of Tumah, keeping it, that is very crucial. If a person from the generation of Aharon, who tzarua osa, he has a metzora or he has a male discharge, the holy, the sacred offerings he cannot eat, ad asher ithar, that it becomes tahor, and somebody who touches tam nefesh, somebody who touched a dead body, somebody that came out from him similar emission, and somebody who touches bechol sheres, creeping things, those 8 creeping things that are tame, that becomes tame, or it becomes tame with the corpse. Nefesh asher tiga bo, and nefesh that touches the tam ad ha'erev is tam ad ha'erev. Everybody has to wash, has to go to mikveh. When after sunset, then becomes tahor, then you could eat teruma. Like the first Mishnah that it gets dark. Then you go to Dram Kodesh, therefore, now the Pasuk is talking about eating of something makes a person tameh. Not touching it, only eating it. That's a bird. Bird only with eating becomes tameh. Nevela, a bird that was dead, and the person eats that in betabilia, when he swallows that becomes tameh. You should read which party, and you should fulfill, should protect all of my rules, and you should not bear any sin on that. Umetu to die, bo ki chalelua, yani Hashem echad. Somebody who is a tam and is teruma, he gets mita b'dei shamayim. Again, very severe punishment, because that is the fundamental. If a person mixes up tumah and kedusha, then we got nothing. All of the Torah is down the drain. Therefore, Torah is very strict about tumah and kedusha. So somebody says, "Oh, your heart has to be clean. Who cares? What's the matter? Now you touch a sheres, you eat it. Who cares? You eat that. The Chodesh Baruch Hu comes down and he cares for somebody like that, something like that." Once we talk in that language, we're going to lose all of the Torah. Yes. In other words, the Zohar HaKadosh explains that Mitzad HaKadosh Baruch Hu, nothing changes. There's no change by Hashem. But HaKadosh Baruch Hu created a world for us. In that world, there are differences. There are places that there is more sacred. There is places that less. There is places that is a tumah. And touching the tumah makes a person tummy. All of this concept makes the Torah. If we lose all of these concepts, then the Torah is not there. Now, what about if a stranger comes to the Kohen's house and Kohen has teruma, has kochim? Could you offer to your guest or not?
No.
Torah says, any non-Kohen cannot eat the Kodesh. Toshav Kohen. Now, what about if a Kohen has an Eved Ivri that has the ring? Now, he has to stay there for 50 years. What about this Eved? Could this Eved eat Kohen? He cannot eat. V'sachir, or what about Eved that's Eved for 6 years? He cannot eat Kodesh. Now, very interesting. Eved Ivri cannot eat Kodesh, but the Kohen, Kirne Nefesh Rinyan Kasbo, a Kohen that buys Nefesh, a person, Rinyan Kasbo, actual Rinyan, in other words, he buys Eved Kenaani, that becomes his completely, Hu Yochal Bo, he could eat. Will it beto, and all of the children of a Shivcha, maid servant, Hem Yochlu B'Rachmo, they could eat. Unbelievable point. Eved Ivri, that's a Jew, cannot eat teruma. But Eved Kenaani, that the Kohen buys, could eat teruma. Now, before Shem say why is it like that? Very simple reason. Because Eved Kenaani, he owns it totally. Eved Kenaani totally becomes Kohen's. He nullifies himself to the Kohen. So once you nullify yourself, you get the Kedusha of the Kohen. But Eved Ivri has his own entity. He doesn't nullify himself. Therefore, he stays as a Jew, as a regular Jew, cannot eat. But from here, we learn out that if you want to get Kedusha of something, you have to nullify yourself to that thing. You nullify yourself to Kedusha, you get Kedusha of that thing. Ubat Kohen, the daughter of the Kohen, Kitele Ishtar, Bat Kohen, no, what about the daughter of Kohen could eat Teruma? Now, what about if she marries? Once she marries, she cannot eat teruma kodshim. If the marriage is Israel, then she cannot marry. She becomes part of the husband. Again, Torah is encouraging us. It's not just a matter of eating, not eating. Torah is giving a guideline. Once a girl marries a husband, belongs to the husband. Let them be happy with themselves. Let them have their own life. It's not your teruma anymore. It's not part of your family anymore. The more you have the feeling of possession, the more you want to own them, the more damage you're going to make to them. You're going to destroy them. You have to let them go and let them have their own life, let them have their own things, and like your Torah says over here. Once you marry out your daughter, forget about it in teruma. It's not part of your family anymore. She's making a new family, and let them be happy for themselves. And we as the parents, we have to educate ourselves to be happy with ourselves, without our children. We have to feel that our children are gone, and we have to educate ourselves how could we make each other happy. I say a joke that there is no escape from Shalom Bayit. People have children, they feel that with the children we are busy, we don't need Shalom Bayit. But once children leave home, then you go back to square number one. Then you go back to your wife, and you have to start up again, listen to the lessons of Shalom Bayit. Because now there is nothing, there is no children in the middle, there is only husband and wife. Therefore there is no escape from Shalom Bayit. But this is a very important point. Torah says the daughter doesn't need the teruma. Now, what about Chas v'Shalom? If this daughter gets almana, a widow, she loses her husband, is the daughter of Kohen, or she becomes divorcee. She doesn't have children. She comes back to the house of the father, as in her youth. If she doesn't have children, now she goes back. Going back is a complete going back. She could eat teruma. But the stranger cannot eat. Now, somebody comes to a Kohen, and he didn't know that these fruits are teruma, and he ate. By mistake, he ate. What should he do? He has to add 1/5 to it. Anytime that the person does something, uses kochim by mistake, he has to add 1/5 to it. And he would give to a Kohen et hakodesh. What means hakodesh? Should give money. No. What does kodesh mean? Rashi says, Rashi, davar hara liot kodesh. Shelo poria lo maot. Ela perot shel chulin vehe nasin teruma. No, we cannot pay him money. What should he do? He has to pay him fruit. The same thing. That should become teruma. Once he pays him and gives it to the hand of the Kohen, that gets the kiddush of teruma. I'm doing pasuk tetvav. Perek kafbet pasuk tetvav. They should not desecrate the holiness of the holy offerings of Israel. That they spread it for Hashem. In other words, the Torah is telling us the Kohanim should be careful. When you have korban or teruma or whatever that you have at home, be careful that the Ben Israel should not eat it. Because if they eat, they're going to carry the sin of the guilt. With eating their kedusha, only Kohanim they could eat. See, this parasha is parasha of Kohanim. And all of the parasha is talking in a very certain language. That this language is very interesting for us. Why? Because see, you're going to go to somebody's house, especially we Persians mentality. In other words, what does it make difference? Why is it like that? No, I eat teruma, he eats teruma. Why should Hashem care? No, all of this parasha of Emor, parasha of Kohanim, and Shaykhov HaKadosh Baruch Hu says all of this mentality is wrong. Because HaKadosh Baruch Hu has a will, He created the world, and He wants it to be like that, and there is a reason for it. Somebody says that everything is, the Gemara says that somebody mahare divrei Torah, somebody thinks divrei Torah b'makom metunav, place that's dirty, and he dirty. The Gemara says that en lo chelek lo haba. In other words, the Gemara says he would get a very severe punishment. Now, before Hashem say, what's the point? Why should he get such a severe punishment? The Gemara says here the Gemara is coming to reject a very interesting philosophy. There's a philosophy out there that says, what does Hashem care? And it's just the opposite. If I say our Kedusha here, I bring Kedusha here. And that's even better. Because Hashem should be all over. Hashem is not here. What are you talking about? Now, Torah goes against that. Torah says somebody thinks like that in a wrong zone, wrong road. He has to change That's to turn 180 degrees. Because this way and this mentality, he destroys himself. He's doomed. He's doomed. Type of mentality, a person would lose himself. Now, like Zohar HaKadosh says, there are two aspects. One aspect of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. By Hashem, everything is equal. Everything is the same. That's true. We accept that. Of course, by Hashem, there is no shinuyim, there is no changes. But Hashem created the world. In that creation, for human beings, there are changes. The changes are misidenu, is on our side because of us, in our aspect. And if there is no change for that, for us, there is no mitzvah, there is no punishment, there is no reward. Everything is down the drain. Therefore, Torah has to emphasize there is kedusha, there is toma. There is kohen, there is not kohen. There is a kedusha of the tamikdash. That is focused and concentrated. There's the presence of Hashem. There's some places there's no presence of Hashem. Some places it's not tahor. It's tameh in bathroom. You cannot think divrei Torah. You cannot talk divrei Torah. That all talking about that HaKadosh Baruch Hu's presence is in this world according to us, lefi us, and we should build it and make it. Hashem spoke to Moshe, Taber Ahaber Bana, Israel, Vamar Taim to them, Ishim with Israel, everybody in Israel, when I give Israel and convert the church, for brings this korban, for vows, or nidveh, or offerings, will offerings, Asher Yachrivu Hashem, that being Hashem, Le'olah, for a burnt offering, Lirtzon Chem. It had to be favorable for you. Lirtzon Chem, it has to be favorable for you. Tamim, it has to be complete. Zachar, Mei, Babakar, cow, sheep, kezim, and goat. We bring korban from cow. Now, so far we talk about kohanim, they have blemish. Now, what about the korban? If the korban is not complete, says, okay, this korban anyway, I'm not using it, I can use it, I give it for Hashem. You know, a person has to understand, I'm sorry, Hashem is not your garbage can. You cannot just throw your garbage to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Rambam says, you want to give tzedakah, you have to give the best. You want to give something for HaKadosh Baruch Hu, you have to give the best. Person says something that I don't need, I give it tzedakah. No. See, you could do that also. But when it comes to a tzedakah, the person has to give the best crop for Hashem. Kol michelvehem la Hashem. Because the first korban that they brought, Gain and Hevel. One brought, that's the first korban in the history of mankind. One brought the best, the other one didn't bring. The one that he brought the best was accepted. Therefore, anyway, Chafetz Chaim said a beautiful point. Chafetz Chaim says, whatever that you do for HaKadosh Baruch Hu, don't think that you're doing for Hashem. Think you are doing it for officer, somebody respectful. Then what do? You have an appointment with somebody respectful, you behave. You are in presence of somebody respectful, you behave. Or you have something to do with you have to bring a gift, you bring a nice gift, package, you are careful. You have, let's say, you have to wear a garment to go in front of a very important person. You shape up your talit, your tefillin, everything, your siddur, whatever that you do for HaKadosh Baruch Hu has to do the best. Now, whatever that has blemish, you should not bring kiluratun yelachem, because it wouldn't be favorable for you. Somebody brings the korban peace offering to Hashem, lefal neder, to pronounce the neder, or nedava, or will offering, cow or sheep, tamim yihye leratzon. And blemish would be favor, find favor. Kolmum leyeh, mum dashlav. Averet, blind, shavur, broken, harutz, with a split eyelid or lip, or yabelet with the zegiran wart, or garav, or kesin, skin eruption is moisture or dry. Lo taqribu el Hashem, should not be v'yishil lo tenu l'hem l'Hashem, and should not be offered to Hashem, l'Hashem. Now, Rashi says, Shlosh Pa'amim, Lahazir al Echdeshon. Rashi says, Rashi, Lo Takribu, Shlosh Pa'amim, Lahazir al Echdeshon, Ve'al Shechitata, Ve'al Zirat Dama. All is asur, the Hechdesh, Shechita, and Zirat Dama. Ve'ishetenu, Azora, Haktorata. Therefore, 4 things is asur. Vashor says Sarua, a cow or a sheep, Sarua, as one limb longer, with galut and split hooves, Nedava Ta'aseh, Oto. You could make it donation. Now, what does Nedava Ta'aseh mean? Rashi lebed kabayish. For fixing up the betamikdash and for these things, not for korban. So Nedava doesn't mean korban Nedava. Now, there's something that's blemished, the money of it would be used for the building of the buildings. But for wow offering would not be acceptable. An animal that the testicles are mashed or crushed, torn or cut. No تقریب العشر شاید بینید و شاید بینید. Therefore, all of this cannot be korban. Now, ubartechem lo tasu. You cannot do in your land. What has been ba'artechem? The Gemara says, anything that has to do with the land of Israel is the mitzvah of Israel. Anything that doesn't have to do with the land is the mitzvah all over. Now, this doesn't have anything to do with the land. It's the mitzvah that you should not do. In other words, you are not allowed to make an animal, wild, domestic, or even not kosher animal, and bird, to make them in a way that they cannot produce anymore. Right? If you castrize them, it's not allowed. You are not allowed to do that. If you have a dog, you want to do that, it's also. Cat is also. Birds is also. It's also to do that. And bartechem lo tafsu. Now the bartechem means نشده دا بارزه لسرشون بهما به خیا بافلو تما. یکم bartechem لربط کل اشیر bartechem. Already with that. Now we're not talking about the korbanot that only kosher bema. کل اشیر bartechem. Sheesh alomar. Okay, beautiful. Umiyat benecha. Now, what about if a goy brings a korban and that korban is blemished, has blemish? What do we do? Could we be benecha lo taqribu dechem lechem mekolele? Now, from the hand of benechar, a foreigner, lo taqribu. You should not offer lechem elohechem, the bread of your God. What does it mean? Those who know Masechet Shekalim, they know the shekel that we bring for the offerings of the korbanot, we cannot accept from the goyim. How do you know? We know from here. Now, the pasuk is saying two things. One thing is saying that lechem elohechem, the bread of your God, the korban tzibur, cannot be brought from the goy. Goy cannot give a shekel for that. The other thing is, if a goy brings the behemoth and as a blemish wants korban yachid for himself, we cannot be makrebi mikolele ki mushchatam bahem, because their corruption is in them, mumbam blemish in them. It's a chilul Hashem. Shouldn't be accepted for them. Now he brings for his avodah whatever that he wants, and the garbage he wants to bring for the God of Israel.
Can he sell that blemished animal and buy a good one?
Yeah, he could do it himself, the goy. By Daber Hashem and Moshe Emor. No, by Daber Hashem and Moshe Emor, Hashem spoke to Moshe saying, Shor o kesef, o es. Now we're going to talk about how young a baby cow, or baby sheep, or goat, baby goat could be to be offered as a korban or to be shecht. How young could it be? Now Torah says, Shor o kesef o es, a cow or sheep or goat, ki yivalet, when it's born, 7 days it has to be under his mother. From the 8th day on, would be accepted as a korban. So we know that the pit will happen for a Jew is, for a Jewish boy, is 30 days after his birth. Why 30 days? Because this 30 we don't know that this child would be stable or would not be stable. It has to come out from the doubt. For human beings, takes 30 days to show that he is stable. For animals, it takes 7 days. After 7 days, we know it's stable. Therefore, for korbanot, we have to wait 7 days, then we could bring it as a korban. Before 7 days, we don't know whether this animal is stable or not. Now, by human beings or by animals, if you know that the month is completed, then Rambam says you could shecht it for chulin, but still for kochim you have to wait for 7 days. Therefore, Torah is saying that any baby animal for a korban you have to wait 7 days. We're sure. Now, it's interesting that the Midrash says there is a German biologist that he made a very interesting observation. He says that if you look on nature of animals and human beings that they give birth. Animals, when they give birth a complete baby. In other words, baby horse could walk, could do everything, could eat, could find his food. He's independent. Independency could live. Baby of all of the animals were like that. The only exception to the rule is baby of human beings. Baby of human beings cannot take care of himself. He would die. If you leave a baby, sometimes in the news you find baby by garbage, they pick him up. If they don't pick him up, he's going to die. Now, this biologist says, why? Why is it like that? Very interesting question. Why HaKadosh Baruch created all of the animals as soon as they are born, they could take care of themselves, and human beings cannot. Now he says a very interesting point. Now that is really the Midrash in this week, Parashat. The Midrash said, Shor o Kesef o Es. Why did he say Shor o Kesef o Es? You should have said, Shor is Egel, Kesef is Se, Ez is Seir. Now the baby Shor is called Egel. The baby Kesef is called Se. The baby Ez is called Seir. Torah doesn't say Seir. The baby says complete. Amar Rabba, Shor ben Yomo, Shor Garile. Es ben Yomo, Es Garile. Kesef ben Yomo. No, even one day Shor is called Shor. Human beings is not called human, it's called baby. Now when Hashim said, the Midrash says, what's Pshat? The Shor, from the time that he's born, is the Shor. When he dies, it's a Shor also. It doesn't change. Stays an animal. He wanted food, he wanted everything for himself. Everything is taiva, everything is arrogancy, it's animalistic. Stays that animal, even if he lives 20 years, 30 years, 40 years, I don't know what's the lifespan. Whatever that is, stays the same thing. The Shor ben Yom is called Shor. But human beings, when he is born, he's helpless. Cannot do anything. He has to be taken care of. And little by little grow, little by little grow. Hopefully we have to change. Hopefully we have to become a different person. Hopefully we have. To some people, it's 50 years old, 60-year-old, is that baby of 60-year-old. The mentality didn't change, everything. Only the attitude changed. Those days, he was a baby, he would cry, they would give him everything. No, he doesn't cry, nobody pays attention to it, but he manipulates everything.
That's it.
Everything is what I want. Life is my desire, life is me, all is about me. Therefore, that is Torah is saying that that's the difference between animal and Adam. Adam hopefully has to grow every day, every week. Person has to become a greater person. That's the purpose of Adam. No. There's another halacha in Torah. Torah says a mother cow and her son, we cannot shech them in one day. In other words, if you have one family, cow and the baby, or goat and the baby, mother and the son, mother and the baby, we cannot shech them in one day. Now, why? What's the reason for it? We have three pshat. Chinuch says we cannot shech a mother and the baby together because HaKadosh Baruch Hu wants to teach you hashgach. This word is not for hefker, it's not for nothing. Hashem created and Hashem watches over everything. Watches over the birds, watches over the snake, that's like the Hazar HaKadosh says, everything has a tachlit. As long as he didn't do his tachlit, Hashem would maintain. Let's somebody decides he would destroy all of the dogs. Could he do that or not? Depends. If the dogs, they did the tachlit, the purpose in the creation, then he could destroy it. But as long as the purpose in creation was not fulfilled, even if he makes the best plan in the world, everything, HaKadosh Baruch Hu would disturb his plan, would not let it go. Therefore, Torah is teaching us Hashgacha HaKadosh Baruch Hu, that Hashem wants the meaning to exist, to be. Therefore, Torah says, don't destroy one family. If you destroy the baby and the mother, you are destroying all of the family. One day, don't do that. In one day, to see all of them and destroy you. Rambam says, not like that. Rambam says, very interesting, Rambam says, when the mother sees that you are shechting the child, the baby, the mother feels bad. And Torah wants you to be sensitive, even to an animal. When you're going to become sensitive to animal, then you're going to become sensitive to human beings. To understand it's a cruelty to do something like that in front of the mother. Ramban says if that's the case, then only if you kill the baby first should be asur, because the mother sees. What about if you kill the mother first? Should be mutar. No, the Mefarshim say, according to Rambam, we have to say harchaka, staying away from it. In other words, if you say that you could kill the mother first, he might come and kill the baby first. Therefore, that's why Rambam says everything is asur. Ramban comes says no. Ramban says different pshat. Ramban says, the Mishnah says, if a person says, Gan Sipur, HaKadosh Baruch Hu says, Shalach et ha'em, send away the mother and keeps the children. Yegiu rachamecha leGan Sipur, HaKadosh Baruch Hu, the one who has the mercy over Gan Sipur, have mercy upon us. If somebody says that, the Mishnah Baruch says, Mishnah Tekinoto. Keep quiet. It's not the right way of davening. No, Ramban says, why? The Gemara says, because he's making the mitzvah of HaKadosh Baruch Hu Rachamim It's not Rachamim, it's only Gesera. It's a decree from Hashem. It's not. No, they say that Ramban says, what does the Gemara mean? Ramban says the Gemara means, if somebody says like Hashem had Rachmanu on the animal, that's not true. Now we're going to go to Zevach Todah, Thanksgiving offering. To gain favor for yourself, you have to save it. On that day should be eaten, should not remain from the boker and Hashem. Usually korbanot, you should not make a remainder because the korbanot has to be eaten fresh. The basar of the korban has to be majesty of the king. You should watch by mitzvah, ask them what should do, and Hashem Hashem, and should not desecrate the Shem Kochi when it dashed between Israel, and it should be sanctified between Israel, and Hashem Echad. Now, if you say lo techalelu, I'd say nidashti Rashi, lo techalelu, la'awar adivrei mezidin. In other words, don't be over my mitzvot mezidin on purpose, on shad hanefesh. Rambam says somebody that b'shad hanefesh. In other words, doesn't have taiva, he doesn't have anything, but he encourages himself to be over a love. He does Chilul Hashem. So don't forget, Chilul Hashem doesn't have to be in front of other people. Chilul Hashem means the person destroys the presence of Hashem. When a person does Avera, is destroying the presence of Hashem. Now, Rashi also says, Lo techalilu la'avor al devarai mezidin. If you are over on my dibur mezidin on purpose, that is Lo techalilu. Mimash v'Hashem Lo techalilu mata ma'avdashti. Now, if he says Lo techalilu, it says v'nigdashti. Of course, if you are not mechalel, desecrate the name of Hashem, you are sanctifying the name of Hashem. Therefore, what's v'nigdashti betoch ben Israel? I should become sanctified. What does that mean? Yachol b'yachid ha'amar betoch ben Israel. In other words, he has to be Moser Nefesh for the mitzvah. Betoch ben Israel. In other words, if a guy comes and he says that among Ahal Israel, eat nevela, don't keep Shabbat, or this, do, and that, a person, if he's in front of other people, in front of 10 Jewish people, then he has to be Moser Nefesh, and he has to give over. V'nigdashti betoch b'Israel. That's the mitzvah of Kedush Hashem. It's the mitzvah of Kedush Hashem. Or three averot. One's adultery, idol worshipping, and killing somebody. If he tells you to do it, even if it's 10 people, you should not do it. You have to do it. Hashem. I took you out of Mitzrayim, so I took you out from Mitzrayim to do al-menatken on this condition. And Hashem Sachar. Therefore, on this condition, I took you out. You should do it. Now we're going to go to Ma'adim. Hashem spoke to Mary. Ma'adei Hashem, all of the appointed festivals of Hashem. You call them Ma'adim. These are my Ma'adim. No, you should do Ma'adim that we say Ma'adim. Now, what does Tigru Otam means Michrai Kodesh? Ramban say Michrai Kodesh means what? That everybody should gather in the shul, they should have it, they should say Hallel, the way that we do it. These are Tigru Otam Michrai Kodesh, calling of Kodesh. 6 days the melacha should be done. What does ta'aseh means? It's passive, should be done. 7th day, Shabbat Mirah Kodesh. Now, the Varshim say, why does it say ta'aseh here? Should say ta'aseh, you should do. Why say ta'aseh should be done? Because, in other words, not working on Shabbat, it's not the point that the person doesn't work on Shabbat. It's the perspective of the 7 days, 6 days of working. If a person feels that 6 days, I'm doing it. Then when they tell him to break on Shabbat, they say that somebody on Friday morning, he has to sit down in contract of $6 million contract. He goes from the morning and he goes further. He feels that in 2-3 hours it will be over. It's not over. 12 o'clock, 2 o'clock, 4 o'clock, 5, 6, 7, 7:30, half an hour before Shkia, he leaves and comes. Now Torah says, on Shabbat, you should not think about it. You should not be involved in it. Take a break. Now, who could take a break from it? Torah says the secret. If somebody feels 6 days melacha was done, not through me, through Hashem. Whatever that I didn't accomplish the things. Accomplishment belongs to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. You contributed to Hashem. Then a person could take break on Shabbat. But somebody who feels that I did it. If I wasn't there, I wouldn't. See, HaKadosh Baruch Hu gives nisyanot to person. They say business meeting, and if he wasn't there, the business would lose a lot. And when he's there, punctual, he makes it, and everybody, partners, appreciates everything. Now it's a shat of nisayon. Why did HaKadosh Baruch Hu do that? Hashem wants to test him. Whether he would become arrogant and would say, no, I did it. That's my work. That's my project. And he would, he would tell the other partners, maybe you should give me more. No, I'm just saying that a person becomes arrogant, then a lot of things comes out of it. It's a package. Now Torah is saying, be very careful. 6 days the melacha has been done, may be done. May be done is passive, because the accomplishment is by HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Person says, I did it. Hashem said, okay, I take away, I go away, let me see how much you could do. Therefore, Shabbat is a taking break. A person could take break when he doesn't believe that he did it. Person believes that accomplishment comes from HaKadosh Baruch Hu. See, I think all of the nisyonot of business is the same thing. If a person feels that I'm doing the business, then it's very hard to be honest. Because with a little bit thing, you could make millions of dollars. Why shouldn't you do it? It's crazy. No! The point is, the person has to understand all of the wealth comes from HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Hashem gives. And the wealth that Hashem doesn't give, you don't want it. Because it's not good. It doesn't come out good. Once you feel that Hashem did it, then you want the way that HaKadosh Baruch Hu says. You want the way that Hashem does it. It's a stupidity. It's the illusion of reality. It's not real. It's not real. Whatever that Hashem gives is real. Therefore, a person would not be attracted. It's not appealing to a person. What is the garbage? What are you talking about? I'm not giving it. See, once you build up the mind that could be there, this and that. One doctor was telling another doctor that Nebach, I'm a from doctor. I don't do these things that people or the other doctors are doing, and they have a house in Beverly Hills. I don't have. But the way that he was talking, I felt very bad. What do you mean Nebach? What do you mean Nebach? You have to feel so good that you are honest. The money that you get is integrity. It's the berach of Hashem. It's the blessing of Hashem. This money is the money that stays, brings blessings, brings shefa, brings beracha, and it's the money that after 120 years, the children would not tear apart themselves because of the money. The money that comes in the wrong way has the wrong implications, has the wrong influence, has the wrong hashpah. After that, children would tear apart. Where does that come from? Because the money was not kosher. Because it didn't come out in the right way. Something that comes with the kedusha, with tahara, with blessing, stays with blessing also. Torah says, Kol melacha do ta'asu on Shabbat. Don't do any melacha. Shabbat hira Hashem. Shabbat is for HaKadosh Baruch Hu. I told somebody, come Shabbat to learn it. He said, no, 6 days of the week I work so hard. Shabbat is sleeping day. You have to sleep. He says, no, Shabbat hira Hashem. Shabbat is the holy day. It's for HaKadosh Baruch Hu. All of the gates of HaKadosh Baruch Hu is open. All of the Rachamim is open. It's a day to be used. It's a day not to be missed. There was somebody, he didn't sleep all Shabbat night. He would, Shabbat he wouldn't go to sleep because he says it's pity to Shabbat to go to sleep. One time he comes to Manhattan, to New York from Israel, comes to Manhattan, and then on Shabbat they had to stay in Manhattan, with his friend, and they stay there. And this friend that he has, they say Kiddush and everything, the friend has to goes out to take a walk. While he goes out to take a walk, he was from Israel, he thought that, Manhattan, I know like a palm of my hand. He walks, and after a while, all of the buildings are the same. He cannot find this building. He looks here, looks there. 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock at night, till finally 3 o'clock at night, he opens his way. Then he knocks at the door. Nobody opens the door. He was surprised. He said, my friend stays all night till morning. How come he doesn't open the door? I know my friend doesn't go to sleep on Shabbat, Leil Shabbat, knocks and knocks, whatever. He says, maybe something happened. If he finds the police on the street, he says, and he comes and he opens the door, and he sees that he collapsed in the middle of the room. And they took him to hospital right away, and the doctors say that if he would have waited till morning, he would pass away. Therefore, Ki Shmira Shabbat, Shabbat Shmira. Once we keep Shabbat, Shabbat keeps us. He had the legacy of not sleeping on Shabbat, and that saved his life. It's a true story. From all of your dwelling places. Therefore, Shabbat is not only for Israel, it's not for this, for downtown. Downtown doesn't have the different time of Shabbat. Now we talked about the Ma'adeh Hashem. Now why Shabbat? What does Shabbat have to do with Ma'adim? Ma'in on Shabbat is Ma'adim. Lamit Vashukra Mechalet HaMa'adim. Ma'ali Olav Kiru Chila Shabbat. Ukra Mechayim et Ma'adim. Ma'ali Olav Kiru Qim et Shabbat. Shabbat and Ma'adim, they play two roles. Shabbat doesn't have anything to do with the Avot. Doesn't have to do with Chal Yisrael. The Kedusha is from HaKadosh Baruch Hu himself. That's the Shaykhut of Hashem and Chal Yisrael. Ma'adim has to do with the Chal Yisrael. Now, Chazal are saying that Shabbat is part of the Ma'adim. Don't think that they're two separate things. They're not two separate things. They're the same thing. אלה מעדי השם, דרום מעדי מירה קודש, אשר אותם מאדם, דרשותם לדרשת, בחודש הראשון, first month, ב-14 לחודש, 14th, בין 40, in the afternoon, in the time to bring, קורבן פסח להשם, 14th, קורבן פסח would be brought, קורבן פסח we bring it before Pesach, why? Because שכני עבדו זרה. ב-15 יום לחודש, אז 15th of the day, חג המצות להשם. It's the festival of Matzot, 7 days Matzot תאכלו. 7 days is Matzot. Now, one pastor says 7, another pastor says 6. Now, just like that day is not mitzvah, it's not a mitzvah either. There is only a mitzvah the first night. It's called Kodesh. Ramban says Mihrab Kodesh means all gathering in the shul with the nice garment, nice thing, and saying Hallel and davening. Kol melechet avodah lo tasu. On Shabbat says Kol melacha lo tasu. On Yom Tov says melechet avodah lo tasu. What does avodah mean? Laborious work. Laborious work. You should know. What does laborious work mean? Avodah, laborious work means avodah of sadeh. Ochel nefesh is mutar. On Yom Tov, you could cook, you could carry things for food and everything that you. But doing melacha, plowing and doing type of melacha is also. On Yom Tov, obviously, a person should not go to work, and they're like Shabbat. Yom Tov is almost like Shabbat. The only thing, the difference is that on Yom Tov, if you have a fire from before, you could cook on it. You cannot make a fire on Yom Tov either. And you should bring fire offering for Hashem, Shivat Damim 7 days. And that offering was said in Parashat Pinchas, not here. On 7th day is calling of the Kodesh. Kol melechet avodah lo ta'asu. Again, kol melechet avodah. So first day and 7th day is Yom Tov. Of course, that's talking about Eretz Israel. But here, that we are in Galut, we take 2 days. When you come to Lam, when you harvest, will creep its harvest, and you should bring an Omer offering. Now the word Omer really is the name of a measurement, but this korban is called korban Omer, is the barley. First of your harvest, the first harvest, first barley grows and then grain. Barley grows by Pesach, and grain grows by Shavuot. Therefore, first by Pesach we bring the first offering from barley Omer, and that is a material for us. We could eat no fruit, no crops. In other words, if you are familiar with the term of Chadash, some people say they are machbid on Chadash. What does that mean? That means the Torah, that's from this big parasha, from this pasuk. Torah says the first barley that's grown in this year, barley, grain, and all of the family of grain family, you are not allowed to eat till you bring the korban the second day of Pesach. That's called Chadash. New crops, new grain family are also to be eaten till we bring Korban Omer, that second day of Pesach. Therefore, any crops that comes to the market from that year is also to be eaten from last Pesach that was planted. Is also to be eaten till we bring Korban Omer. Now the first should be brought for Hashem. And that's from the barley, V'henif et ha'omer ifnei Hashem l'tzorchem, and they should shalmei the Korban ifnei Hashem l'tzorchem, and to gain favor for you, Mimachoret HaShabbat, from the day after the Shabbat, second day of Pesach, and the Kohen should wave it, and you should do it on the day of waving of the Omer, Keves Tamim, a lamb unblemished, Ben Shnato, in its first year, Le'olah La'Hashem Minchato, and its meal offering, Shnei Esroim, 2 Esroim solid, fine flour, mixed with oil, Korban fire offering LaHashem, Re'yach Nechovach, an aroma that's satisfying when it's go and its libation is pouring. Now what that you pour, yain, wine, revit hayin, it should be 1/4 of the hin, is the name of a measurement. Now, velechem v'kali v'chamel lo tochlu ad etzem hayim hazeh. Now the bread, kali, parched kernels, now the roasted kernels, with caramel, the plum kernels, lo tochlu, you should not eat till it's this day itself. At Havach Korban Elokechem. In other words, it says till its day and said to bring a korban. The Gemara is talking about two different locations. If we have a Tamikdash, it's also to eat till to bring the korban. But about when we do that, Tamikdash Nagnabot is at Etzem till this day. Chugat Olam all of your dwelling places. Now, Bechol Moshvetechem, yeah, there's a machloket that the Chadash is only for Israel or even for Chutz La'aretz. Most poskim say it's even for Chutz La'aretz. Now, some say in Chutz La'aretz there is no heterim. No heterim that there are somech, but it's better a person should be makbid on Yashan if he could. If it could, it's possible. But there's a big argument, Rabbi was very machmir, that the person should keep Chadash, Yashan. That's the sword of it. Now, Torah says, you bring the korban on the second day of Pesach, now you do something else also. You should count from the tomorrow of that Shabbat, from the day that you bring Omer Terefah, 7 complete weeks. Till the tomorrow of the Shabbat HaShavit. Now, Shabbat here, what does Shabbat Shavit here mean? Week, 7 week. The tomorrow of the 7 week, there were 49 days we count, and tomorrow of that 49th, 50th, Tisperu Chamishim Yom. You should count 50 days. And you bring Mincha Chadasha, a new Mincha on Shavuot. Moshetechem Taviu, from Moshetechem Taviu Lechem Tenufa. You should bring waved bread, Shetayim 2 Shnei Esronim, and the weight should be 2 Esronim. Solid, fine flour, Tiyena, Hametz Tafena. All of the meal offering that they have in B'Tamid is not Chametz, it's Matzah. Only on Shavuot they bring Chametz. Bikurim LaHashem, Bikurim LaHashem. And you bring on that bread 7 sheep temimim and blemished, beneshana in their first year, upar ben bakar echad, and the bull young one of the herd, echad 1, the elim shleim, and the rams 2, you ula laHashem shashem, uminchatam, and the meal offering in his game, yishere yachnuhu vach laHashem. Va'asitem seiristim, and bring the male goat echad lahatat for chatat, and 2 kevasim beneshana zebach shlamim, and 2 sheep for shlamim. When the Kohen would shave them, alechem abikurim on the lechem of the offering, tenufa lifnei Hashem, ashrei kevasim beneshana, chodesh u'laHashem, laKohen should chodesh, u'chratem betzem ha'imazeh, and should call betzem ha'imazeh mira chodesh, yirachem should be on top, kol mechet avodah lo ta'asu, on yom tov mechet avodah, u'chat olam bechosh v'techem v'techem chat olam. I think that now in Los Angeles we don't have to keep this yom tov, this and that, u'chat olam bechosh v'techem. When you harvest, you should not finish the corner of your field, and the falling stalks of your harvest you should not gather. You should leave it for an very interesting. Therefore, Torah is saying that Pesach, tomorrow from the Pesach you bring Korban Omer, and you should count. Now, this all of the beracha Asher Shalom Yisrael al Sifrat HaOmer comes from here. Really, it doesn't make sense. What means al Sifrat HaOmer? We're not Sifrat HaOmer. The Rishonim say, what Sifrat HaOmer mean? The beracha doesn't make sense. What's Sifrat HaOmer? Omer is the korban that they brought second day of Pesach. In other words, maybe you should say the Sefira Me'omer. Now, Meiri explains that the real Nosach of beracha should have been that we were commanded to count from Me'omer, from Omer till Shavuot. But since they wanted to make a long beracha, they made shomer as Tifrat HaOmer. We say HaOmer, but the Omer is the korban that they brought. Now, the first say that the counting is from the barley to grain. Barley is assumption of animals. Grain is Adam. Elevation. Now, how do you elevate yourself? You just count. Well, how long does the counting take place? It's 10 a minute. Now, if we go to the greatest psychologists and tell them, we have animalistic characteristics, we want to change them to human beings. And we are spending less than a minute a day. This is a joke. It's a big joke. Nothing would happen. I mean, I promise you nothing would happen. But Torah tells us to do that. And you see the accomplishment? Now what's pshat? You're right. We thought that you have to climb mountains. You have to know, you want to change yourself from barley to grain. It's not so simple. Now, before Shem says, Zohar says, first of all, Tzvat HaOmer has such a great zechut and merit. The Kabbalah talks about it. And the simple point is like this. You stand up in front of HaKadosh Baruch Hu, and you acknowledge and proclaim that HaKadosh Baruch Hu, I'm waiting for your Torah. I love your Torah. I'm anticipating your Torah. And I want that saying, that counting, that showing the expression of the feelings that the person does in front of HaKadosh Baruch Hu, that empowers a person. That gives energy and power. HaKadosh Baruch Hu gives them a different neshama, different ruach, different attitude, different desire, different wanting. Hashem makes him to be a different person. He's not that person anymore. Therefore, that could happen. With the desire, love, with the expression that the person really wants and is anticipating for Torah and he wants the Torah of HaKadosh Baruch Hu, that proclamation, that thing makes it, transforms the neshama of a person, makes it such a change in a person. And Itaka is the elevation from barley to grain. Now, why does it talk about Anim right in the middle of Ma'adim? We didn't finish Ma'adim yet. And it talks about Anim. Maybe that's the makor that every Yom Tov they try to fundraise for Anim. Don't get tired. Torah says to do that. Don't blame Rabbanim for that. Is a source in Torah to do that. But no. Zak Rashi. ובקוצרים חזר בשום לעבור עליהם ושנבין ואמר רבי רבי ואמר רבי אבדימי ברבי יוסף מה ראה כתוב לתנם באמצע הרגליים. He didn't like it also. He's protecting of the Balabatim. He says, what's happens that, how Shvaru puts this Aniyim right in the middle of the Golim. Pesach v'atzeret mikon, Rosh Hashanah v'Purim v'chag mikon. No, Pesach and Shavuot from one side, Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur on the other side. Lelamedcha, to teach you, shechol hanoten leche shecha u'peah. Somebody who gives leche shecha u'peah le'ani karaui, as proper. Very important point, karaui. But that person gives us Torah here and there. Karaui. Leche shecha u'peah le'ani karaui. The way that should be in the proper way. Ma'alin alav keilu bana betamidash v'yigle v'alav korbanotov b'tocho. They consider for him as if he built up the betamidash and he brought the korbanot b'tocho. No, when somebody goes 120 years up there, they tell him, you built up betamidash, you brought korbanot. Say, no, I'm not the builder. I never pick up a brick of betamidash to do that. They say, no, we gave you account for that. They say, what? They said they bring him in this Rashi. You learn Rashi, you came to Shur on Rashi on Friday morning or Thursday night, you would have known better. That Rashi says, somebody who gives kraui to Aniyim, it's like building Betamikdash, Bana Betamikdash. No, what's Pshat? Bana Betamikdash, V'yidei Wala Korban Tov B'toch. Proper. یعنی شایسته طوری که باید بده کراوی شایسته نه که کراوی لانی کراوی معلی علا کیلو. No, what's Pshat? Taka, what's Pshat? I was thinking that what's the Pshat? Henach lifnei mimra tushnan. What is the Pshat? Why is it like that? Because what's the purpose of the Tamikdash and bringing the Korbanot? The Betamikdash Korbanot is our connection to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. We build up the Betamikdash. What's Betamikdash? Betamikdash is Chal Yisrael. Building the Chal Yisrael, make the connection between the Chal Yisrael and HaKadosh Baruch Hu. And only, the Gemara says, Aniyut Yotze Adam Midato. Somebody is very poor. He could take out his mind from him. The Gemara encourages a person very much that the person should not come to poorness. Because poorness, even though that the person has to learn Torah, but he has to be careful not to be poor. Because being poor is very big in Israel. Yotze Adam Midato. Takes away a person from his da'at. The person becomes a shukah. Let's say that they make a study that nowadays that the economy is so down and the people don't make enough money, there is a lot of corruption going on. Robbery is going on. Because Yotze Adam Midato, a person doesn't have food, it's dangerous. This is the way that happens. No, building Beit HaMikdash means creating a connection between Am Yisrael and HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Somebody who takes care of the Aniyim and broken heart, broken people, he helps them out, he elevates them, and gives them serenity, gives them. HaKadosh Baruch Hu makes him also as if to build up his room, Beit HaMikdash, and give him that serenity that should have, and as if he brought the Korbanot, makes the connection. וידבר השם משה למשה ודבר אל בן ישראל וצא לאמור בחודש השביעי on 7th day באחד לחודש first of the day Here lachem Shabbaton, Zichron Teruah, remembrance of Teruah. One says Yom Teruah, Zichron Teruah. That's the remez on Shabbat is the Zichron. Remez. Migrachot, Kol Melech Avodah Tasu, V'Yirachtem Shel Hashem, V'Haytav Hashem Moshe Lemor. Ach Ba'asu Achot. Tenth of the Sevim, Ferman Yom Kippurim Migrachot Shilachem, and you should annoy your soul and V'Yirachot Hashem, V'Kol Melech Tasu, All Melech Tasu is Melech Avodah, Melacha, because like Shabbat. Be'etzem I must say in the midst of the day, Yom Kippurim Hu, Lechaper Alechem, to provide an atonement for you, Lifnei Hashem, Lekechem, Kol Nefesh Lo Teuneh, any soul that would not be afflicted. Be'etzem I must say in the midst of this day, Benicheta, he gets Kared Ma'ameha. When Hashem Ta'aseh Melacha, Ta'aseh Melacha, Be'etzem I must say, I will destroy Nefesh Megrama, Kol Melacha Lo Ta'as, Shunadu, V'Chat Olam Deotechem, Shabbat Shabbaton, Yom Kippur says Shabbat Shabbaton like Shabbat, because Lochel Nefesh is Asur, and you should suffer. You should afflict your soul b'tisha al chodesh be'erev from that tisha. From here we know that you have to add on Yom Kippur me'erev ad erev. It's not enough to take 24 hours. You have to add on Yom Kippur to serve Yom Kippur. By that Hashem Moshe Emor, that ben Israel Emor b'chamisha asor chodesh 15th of the Chag Sukkot Shvat Yom Hashem. 7 days by Yom Rishon Mirach Chodesh. Kol melech avodah tasu. 7 days taqrib u'ishel Hashem. By Yom Hashemini Mirach Chodesh. 8th day lachem v'yirachtem ishel Hashem. Atzereti stop. And assembly it is. Kol Melech Avodah Tasu. Hashem says, I don't want you to leave. Stay one more day with me, and becomes the Sheminith 8th day of Sukkot. That's Yom Tov without Sukkah. Ele Ma'ad Hashem. Dem Tashti Otam. Lehaqri B'Shel Hashem. Ola u'Mincha Seva Hamsachim. Dar Yom Milevat Shabbat. Besides Shabbatot, besides your gift offering, and besides your vows, u'Milevat Kol V'Techem. And besides all of your will offering Hashem, Ach B'Chamisha Asar LaChodesh, 15th day B'Spechem Tuvachem, when you gather all of your Tevuah, Tahuch Tag Hashem, Shivat Damim, 7 days, that was Chag Sukkot. This Chag of Arba Mini, B'Yom Rishon, Shabbatom, Yom Shabbatom, 2 different parashiyot. Ulkachtem Lachim should get B'Yom Rishon, Peres Teodar, Etrol, Kapot Temarim, palm tree, V'Anaf Etzavot, that's the myrtle tree, B'Arbe Nachal, and the willow of the brook, וסמכתם לפני השם ככם שבעצמות לפני השם וחייתם חג השם 7 days בשנה הורדתם אתכם בחודש השביעי on 7th day תחוגו אותו make the festival בסוכות תשעו 7 ימים 7 days כל האזרח נתי בישראל שהוא בסוכות למען ידעו דרכתם בשבועות כי בסוכות שבתי I sat down all of your in סוכות בני ישראל בהוציא אותם לישראל בני השם וידבר משה בת השם בני ישראל we finished the מועדים no וידבר משה לאמור Sabbath ben Israel Hashem. Now, once we finish Ma'adim, now it talks about menorah. For menorah, you should get shemen, olive oil, zayit, zach, pure, katit, pressed, lamaor. From outside of the curtain of the testimonial tablets, be'ohel moed, ya'arochoto, you should arrange them. Me'erev ad boker from morning till morning, if Hashem, tamid, hukaduram dotechem. Al menorah, Torah, the menorah, pure menorah, ya'aroch tamid. That talks about menorah. Menorah represents Torah Shebal Peh. Now, after that, talks about Shulchan. Menorah and Shulchan. En Kemach, en Torah, en Kemach. Now, listen, the bit that it talks about Kemach. Velokachta, and you should get solid fine flour, vavita oto, and bake it 12 chalot. Now, why 12 chalot? The Parashim say 12 chalot because Shevatim of Israel, or 12 mazalot. They have 12 mazalot. When it comes to Parnasa, everybody is interested in mazalot because people think this mazalot does that mazalot does that. Somebody says to do this, to do that. Now listen to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Hashem says, Tevel malot, Shene esronim, ya'achalo achad. 2 esronim, 1 chala. 12 by 2 is 24. A day is 24 hours. And we have the representative of 24 on this shulchan. The Samta, Otam, and you should put them Shetayim Ma'arachot, 2 Ma'arachot, 2 arranging vertical arrays, 6 Ma'arachot, 6 of them Al Shulchan Atol, if Hashem 6 this way, 6 that way, and you put frankincense, Zakal, Kundur, Bahatal Alechem Laskara, and it should be for the Lechem Laskara. In other words, you're going to put on the Korban, on the Mizbeach, on the Levona. Ishel Hashem, Afrim Hashem, Bayim Shabbat, every week on Shabbat, Ya'arechen Ulev Hashem, they should arrange it for Hashem Tamid, all the time, made by Israel, Beritola. They would bake it on Friday, and they would put it on the Shulchan on Shabbat, and would stay there till next Shabbat. And next Shabbat, they would change it with the new bread, and they would give this bread to the Kohanim to eat. The Gemara says every Kohen would get kazai to it. Because that are kosher Torah. Ma'im b'melach. tocha. Ma'im b'mesura tishte. That's the derech of Torah. Now, if somebody wants to be zoche to menorah, that is the parnasa. In other words, first it brings menorah, then brings parnasa. To be zoche to menorah, what is stopping a person is the obstacles of parnasa. Parnasa eats up somebody's mind. I tell him, come on, learn for us. No, I am so busy. I have to do this and that. 1 hour, half an hour. I don't have time. Later on. You are 18 years here, and some people still they are looking to find out time for learning. They couldn't find, Therefore, that's Parashat, this is Parashat. There is the menorah, there is the lechem. Now, Torah says there are 12 chalot, 12 mazalot. You have to put it in Beit HaMikdash, and we leave it there for 7 days, and then we give it to Kohanim to eat. And that's Brit Olam. باید تا الان بنا به اخلو به ابون قدوش دارن که قدرتش ملشه بشه خو غلام سر خو غلام. Now it's very interesting that in the Beit HaMikdash Kohanim they should eat fresh bread or not fresh bread. Now if your wife put in front of you food that's not so fresh, don't complain, because even in Beit HaMikdash they didn't eat fresh food. They ate food that 9th day old and nobody had to say anything. Not even HaKadosh Baruch Hu gives like that. Now what's the pshat is like this. A lot of people think that all of the parnasa comes from masalot, from my trying this and that. You know what HaKadosh Baruch Hu says? Parnasa comes from 7 days being in Beit HaMikdash, having the experience of kedusha, tahara. That bread that's there, that stays there, in the makam of kadosh with kedusha with tahara. That brings the parnasa. That brings the beracha. That brings the shefa. Not that the person with trying, with doing this and that. With Torah, with avodah, no, and menorah, that's Torah. Now listen to this. Now a person sees and watches the scene. Wow! For Kohanim, for the house of HaKadosh Baruch Hu, they eat bread of 9th day. That's the way to do it. That's the next parasha. Vayetze ben Isha Israelit, and went out the son of Isha Israelit, the son of the Jewish lady, who ben Ish Misri, and he was son of a father Misri. Now the Torah testifies that if the father was Jew, a Jew would not do something like that. The Zera was from a Goy. Betoch ben Israel, the mitzvah ben Israel, vayinatzu b'machane, and they had fight b'machane, ben Israelit, v'ish Israeli, the son of the Jewish mother, that the father was Goy, and the another regular Jew. They had fight. Vayiklo ben Isha Israelit, and pronounced the son of Isha Israelit et Hashem. It's very interesting, Hashem. And the other way becomes Moshe. Hashem, Moshe. That Hashem, in other words, that place that Torah calls the name of Hashem, Hashem, their name. By Qalil and cursed it, by Yavi Yoto El Moshe, and they brought Hashem Moshe, Ramed by Divri Lemataton. And the name of his mother is by Divri Lemataton, by Yonuchu by Mishpar, and they put in prison, they flushed him al Pi Hashem to see what should we do to him. They didn't know what to do. Why? Because Parashat of Kelalel was not said. A great education. A boy in school takes a gun against the principal. And that's something. Media, everybody talks about it. Once they talk about it, what happens?
Normal.
Becomes normal. The other time, another student does, another student does, another student does. Now, Torah teaches us, educates us beautifully. The parasha of Mekalel was not said in Torah. Till somebody cursed HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Why? Because if we say the parasha just like that, we create imagination in people. Something like that could happen. We should be in a very drastic experience. What happens this? And they came, and Torah says stone him. Therefore, that's the way to do it. Now, how come he became a Mekaler? Torah says the name of the mother. First, Torah says the sin, and then it says the mother. To say that, do you know, that came from this mother. What came? Shlomit. Shlomit is a beautiful name. Shlomit means shalom. What's wrong with that? Rashi. دعوا پیت به تا شالم علیخا شالم علیخا شالم علیخون مبنی به دواریم شویل شالم حکل. See, shalom is very good, but a lady who asked b'shalom hakol, what's the purpose? What is the purpose? Socializing. Become socialized. And she asked shalom abakol, shalom to this person, shalom to that person. Why are you talking to a stranger? What's the dialogue? What's the talking? What's the thing? She invades the modesty of Dibur, modesty of talking. See, HaKadosh Baruch Hu created in a person fence, in modesty, in Geneva, in everything. We have a fence. Once we breach this fence, we breached it. then there is no fence anymore. Therefore, this mother, Shalom, Shalom, he spoke to everybody. It's very interesting. It's ironic that the name of the parasha is Emor, talking, and we have Mekalel in the same parasha. Because this Emor, you could use it for Kedusha V'Tahara, or the power of speech you could use and invade the fence of it. What's the fence of it? Modesty. No. Use the word correctly. Talk in the right way, proper time. Not Shalom Akol, but Divri, the grandmother. Dabranit Haida, Divri, Dabranit, from speech. Medaberet in Koradam. Spoke to everybody. In other words, the mother and grandmother, they invaded the modesty of speech, they breached the fence of speech, and see what happened. They became a son or grandson that invaded so much. He invaded at possible point. He cursed HaKadosh Baruch Hu. That comes from somebody who is the invader. Once he invades, that happens. That's one point to learn. The other point, Vayinotzu b'machane. Rashi says, what was the Rashi? Vayinotzu b'machane, aritzi machane. V'ish Yisraeli, zeh damishim. Zeh doshim mechabu, mate'olu. No, dude, Rashi says, the Parashat says Vayetze. Yeah, Vayetze Yaakov Beersheba. We know when he was, he came out. Rashi says Vayetze Ben Israel, it came out. From where did he come out? Rashi, Vayetze Mehechan. Yatzah, Levi Yomar Me'ulamu Yatzah. He came out from his world. The person, through an incident, could come out from his world. He could destroy his world. Person has Bechira. Person, something happens, becomes so frustrated, and he said something that he destroys his Olam Haba, he destroys everything. Yatzah Me'ulamu. Person could do that. The person has to be careful. One incident, the person could destroy everything. Says Yatzah from the parasha before. What? The bread of Hashem would be 9 days bread? Should be fresh bread. What is it? No, HaKadosh Baruch Hu wanted to show Kedusha, wanted to show Tahara. But this person that he heard, that he asked his mother, what happened to my father? He said that Moshe Rabbeinu killed your father, V'shed HaMefurash. No, he hated Moshe, he hated Shema Mefurash. Then he came, and what does the Kirah happens? Yossi, Yake Yossi. And this is Vikiret Hashem. If you see Hashem, if you read it the other way, it becomes Moshe. He cursed Moshe, and he cursed Hashem. Why? Because of the revenge of his father. Now, why? Somebody who has a wrong determination, wrong things, first of all, from here we learn out. If a betting, and then the other thing was that he went to betting because he put his tent in the Machane Dan. The Shevet Dan says that no, you don't belong here. Your father is not done. Your mother is done. You don't belong here. He said, no, I belong here. They go to Moshe Rabbeinu. Moshe Rabbeinu says, you are Chayav. You have to take out. Because Torah says Avot. Now from here we learn out, when you go to betting, and betting paskin something, you're going to become against the Ayonim. A lot of times you see a lot of articles and things people write against the Bete Dinim that they went to. Always is like that. In Jewish history, all the time that happens. People go to Bedin. Once a person goes to Bedin, why does he go to Bedin? If he feels doesn't have right, he doesn't go to Bedin. Why people go to Bedin? Because they feel they have right. Now, Bedin is very hard to convince him you don't have right. It's the most difficult thing to do in a life. To prove to somebody who feels is entitled, you are not entitled. It's very hard. A lot of times it becomes very crucial. Now, a lot of times they become against the betting, and that is the Torah says over here. He hated Moshe Rabbeinu. He came and he cursed Moshe Rabbeinu. Now, what's the real cause of that? Chachamim tell us. Because this person felt that he doesn't have position. What do I mean? He thought that he could camp by dawn. Now they took away that camp from him. Therefore, he felt a member of a society without any position. You should know, anybody that he loses his position, a child at home, feels that he doesn't have a chair, doesn't have a special chair. There's no speciality for me in this house. He would be lost from society. A member of a society, when a member of a society sees that he doesn't have position, he doesn't have role, he doesn't have a makom in the society, he's lost. He becomes such a dangerous person. Therefore, we have to be very careful to make sure people have their own room, they have their own chair. Somebody who loses his chair, children. A lot of times, when the second child is smaller than the first child loses his own seat. I have seen a lot of times. Then he loses himself. He was such a good boy, such a good girl, such a good things. Second child comes and more vital, more talkative, more things, and that is very dangerous. The Torah tells us what was the cause of this krala. و در شأن مشکل مثلا توصیه در مکال المختبخانه should take the مکال المختبخانه به سام خود شغل می‌چردیم and they should put their hands on the رشو برای موتور کلای دا and they should stone him. Well, when he said that Emor, Ishish ki chale lukav, somebody who curses the lukav rasa chaderato, v'nokev shem Hashem, motumat, somebody who pronounces the name of Hashem, motumat, rakom yirkem mubol kolayoto, they should stone him, kagir kisrach, converted or native, v'nokev shem Emor, he curses should die, v'ish ki yaki konefesh adam, somebody who hits a nefesh adam, motumat. If a person kills somebody, should put to death. If somebody kills the behema, he has to pay. Soul for soul money. Somebody puts a blemish in my toe. Shaver, break in place of break. Eye in the place of eye. Tooth in the place of tooth. Of course, within it's money. One judgment should be and they stoned him when they said also to Hashem. Moshe said it, but Hashem told Moshe, and they destroyed this Mekalir. When you see that the Parashat, somebody who is Mekalir Shem of Hashem aside, somebody who learns Torah, keeps mitzvot, and this Kiddush Hashem is the other way. Contrary, he would be zocher to all of the beracha and blessings.